Here we are, major city. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Would most other places do the majors first before the minors?
It seems like in all the books I have, they always start with the majors, and I think that's because people see them as the big secrets and the most exciting part of the tarot, but I like doing the minors first because they're so much easier to read. They're not as static as the majors. And the majors are big secrets and they do have archetypical
Yeah.
information in them, but they can also be applied to every day. It's like not every time a major comes up, it's something, oh my God, earth changing. Sometimes they really and truly are everyday circumstances.
Absolutely. Yeah. I suppose the majors have been around longer. Like when the tarot was first created, there were no minors as such. They didn't have all the pictures on them, did they?
No, they didn't really have the pictures on them until 1909 when Pamela Coleman Smith drew them.
Yeah. Whereas the majors would date back hundreds of years. So I think you've got to give them some sort of recognition for that.
Oh, absolutely. And they are powerful. They can be. If you've got quite a few majors in a spread, you better pay attention. Something big is going on. But if it's just one or two majors, it's not always earth-shattering news.
Yeah.
So, and I just think that everybody starts with the majors because that's really what people are most interested in. You know, what are all the secrets inside
well,
of this card?
there is also that fool's journey, you know, and that some kind of like tarot teachings put importance on that, don't they?
They do. They do. I don't follow that myself because it's really not linear. So I think that there's some substance to it, but not necessarily in the way it's presented. And I'd have to do a lot more research and understanding how I'd understand it before I really put much stock into it.
Would you say, though, even with the 1909 sort of Rider-Waite deck, that there was more connection in the choice of the artwork to kind of symbolism and like maybe astrological things and all that sort of thing in the majors than in the minors?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. In the Golden Dawn in the 1900s, and probably even before then, every member was required to make his own deck or her own deck. It was part of the grand initiation. And Waite had complete control. He was very specific. I want this in this card, this in that card, but only with the Major Arcana, the trumps. He really didn't give much attention to the minors. That was what we know of. That was all Pamela. Of course, he approved it. But we've also got to remember that the Golden Dawn was a secret society. So a lot of what Waite presented to us in the majors was misleading or not quite true or changed so that the masses wouldn't have all their secrets. Now, there are some people who say that because of that, the tarot isn't true, but let's face it, the tarot works as it is. He revolutionized tarot by mass marketing it. So it wasn't just those secrets. And that's why so many tarot readers use intuition instead of the esoteric information. It's the esoteric information that has been altered or changed or deleted, but the intuitive, the pictures, the work with the intuitive aspect of it is still very, very real.
Yeah.
Did that make any sense?
Yeah, it did. I mean, it also feels as well in like modern kind of, you know, media things. certainly people that don't understand all this sort of thing, when they kind of like pick you know, if there was a character in a film or a sitcom or a drama that was a psychic using tarot cards, they will always call upon one of the major cards as kind of, you know, oh, the death card has come up, kind of, or whatever, like, you know, oh my god, it's the devil. It's kind of like, it is that, or the lovers, whatever. It is those big huge themes that are kind of instantly kind of, conclusions are instantly jumped to, but they are there in the major arcana. I think the minor arcana, although in a sense the majors are harder to read, on the other hand, the majors are topics and themes that we all immediately kind of relate to, whereas the minors, it's like, well, what's this supposed to mean? You know, a person in a boat with a load of swords sticking in it, kind of, you know, and they're what is that supposed to represent? It's not. The other thing about the majors as well is they do all have the word written across the bottom in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So again, you just jump to a certain conclusion. You see that word, and it's kind of, oh, that's what that card means. Because in actual fact, the majors have got loaded with sort of depth and all sorts of possibilities. But they give you one word, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, I've got this.
Yeah.
No.
And those words can be so misleading sometimes. That's like, especially like justice and judgment. Those are very misleading to card interpretations. And if you stop it, okay, this is about the law or this is about karma, then you're really not seeing the depth of the card. I just did a reading last week where, and I'm always, okay, you know how we play 20 questions where we're like, okay, who am I? And I would say, you would come to me if you needed medical attention. And I'm always kidding about MASH and judgment and the big red cross on the flag, because it's a universally known. And that's one of my ways of seeing judgment. And I did a reading last week where a young lady wanted to know about a condition of somebody she loved, and medical results just weren't finding anything. So she was like, well, should we take this holistic? And I got the judgment card, and I was like, oh, no, you need to stay with the doctors.
Yes.
Because of the red cross, it didn't have anything to do with the angel or the people or anything. It was the red cross that captured my eye. Nothing to do with the word judgment. Nothing. Hermit, he used to mean the solitary teacher, the kind that went looking for information on his own. Semantics changed. Today, hermit means someone who doesn't like other people or don't want to be around other people. So semantics and those words on those cards change everything.
Yeah. I do think they are mostly quite static looking. You've got that word across the bottom. I know, like when I first started doing tarot, I could remember the majors because it had that word there written on it, whereas I had to kind of like really, you know, remember keywords. I did it all wrong. I did everything wrong. When I learnt the tarot, I made the same mistake that everybody makes. It's kind of, I've got 78 cards to learn what they mean. And it was like the majors are easy because you've got your word written there. It's like stupid. But I have to say, you know, there were words in the majors, and I thought, I don't know what this word means. Hierophant. That is not a word I've ever heard of or used. So I don't know what it means. And or temperance. I never knew what that meant. It's not a word that was in my, you know, vocabulary.
Same.
But the majority of the words, I know what a sun is, a moon is. So I don't have to commit that to memory because the word's written on it, you know, and there's just so much more to them. There's like layers and layers of possibilities.
There really are. And that's why we're doing these podcasts, so that we can not show everybody all the possibilities, but show them how to look at the card and unlock possibilities of their own.
And trust and start to trust what your intuition or your higher power is telling you.
There may be some things that we say that you might be like, oh no, it could never mean that to me. That's okay. It's how we're brought up. It's our cultural beliefs. There may be like my friend Ana Luisa in Brazil. She may see something in a card with her cultural upbringing that I would never see. So the cards are going to speak to who's reading. That's the beauty of it. They're going to speak to the reader in a way that the reader will understand.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I suppose I'm a theatrical person, and I do possibly naturally go for the drama in the majors. I do see the big themes quite easily, you know. I think I do naturally kind of pick up on the drama, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I will go for the keyword. But I may see the major as being something kind of like dramatic. That is definitely in my my personality. Yeah,
they certainly can be. But honestly, if you're asking the cards, am I going to get, am I going to win the lottery, and you get a lot of majors, that just might be that there's a whole lot more involved than just you. There's too much going on.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's very hard to sort of like talk about the majors without talking about the individual cards, which is like what we are going to be doing. But I kind of like feel the general kind of rule for me is see them as themes rather than kind of like, details, unless your intuition is telling you something more abstract about it. Like I've seen, I mean, I will talk about this when I kind of like get to it, but I've seen all sorts of things in the artwork that have got nothing to do with any of the themes whatsoever, and you see it and it just, you just know that that's what you were meant to say.
I know we're going to talk about this when we get to the Wheel of Fortune, but I really need to bring this up. The majors can certainly be everyday things. Mandy, tell us, just give us a rundown of that. You know what I'm talking about.
I know. Yes, it was a friend of mine who owned a flat, and her tenant was complaining that there was this sort of constant leak coming through and couldn't work out where it was coming from. And sort of, I'm cutting a very sort of long story short, but I got the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. And I said, do you know whether the room above the room where the leak is, above it, I think there might be a washing machine? Because I saw that red thing, that red kind of creature thing. For some reason, because it was reversed, that sort of said to me, don't go for the usual, do not go for the usual interpretation of this. This is something completely different. I just saw it as washing going around, and that it was exactly that. There was a washing machine, exactly that, and it was leaking exactly above where that leak was. And I just thought, oh, I love the tarot so much. But that has got like nothing whatsoever to do with, astrology or the Kabbalah or numerology or any of it. And it was the right answer.
I love that. So that is the most beautiful example I know of how major arcanas can actually be everyday life. Yeah. All the cards can. Every single one of these cards there are not just 78 things that can happen to us in a day, let alone a lifetime.
Yeah.
So these cards have to have that versatility to be able to explain to us what's going on in our world.
Yeah.
In our lifetime. So they're just so versatile. I freaking love them.
I know. I know. And it is so amazing when something like that comes up. And you have to reach a certain point with your tarot and with your relationship with the universe and your relationship with your higher power or whoever it is or whatever it is you are tuning into. Because I absolutely totally believe, for me, I go into a different zone when I'm doing a reading to when I'm in normal life. I'm not kind of coming up with strange voices or anything like that, but I am just on a different level of concentration that is very obvious to me.
Now, okay, I know you and I are both Gemini moon, and
Yes.
in day-to-day state, my brain is just, but when
Yeah.
I'm reading tarot, I'm calm.
Yeah.
I
It's the
can be
same.
nervous as hell. Like we did a party recently, and I had never been in a situation like that with a party online, and I was so nervous. But the minute I flipped the first card, I was like, "Ow!"
Yeah.
I was calm.
It is incredible. It does something to your consciousness
Hmm.
when you're doing it, and I just kind of like, I absolutely sort of, I can't remember what my Gemini moon sort of crept in again now, but like what my point was to begin with. But I definitely sort of like feel that when you get into, that's what I was going to say, when you get to the stage where you are trusting your relationship with whatever it is that causes you or you're connecting with, when you go into this place, into this zone, once you trust that, you genuinely are open to all sorts of things coming in that are triggered by those cards.
Yeah.
And you feel confident about saying there's a washing machine because I'm seeing this red thing going round or whatever. You feel 100% confident. And it's like, I know that's the answer.
Yeah. And you are not going to find that in any book or
And
keyword.
that's not arrogance or anything. It's just a kind of, it's actually a
It's
really nice
trust.
feeling when you're that sure about what it's saying to you.
Yeah.
And that's
That,
not going to happen on every card, that you get some obscure abstract kind of meaning for it. But it's not, when you're reading the cards, I think the worst thing you could do is read that word on the bottom. It's almost worth chopping those words off, really.
it is. It is. I couldn't do that to my cards, but
No, I know.
I've been reading long enough that I can ignore those words.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because at first, when students start learning with us and they learn the intuitive way, they're almost afraid to go with keywords. If the first intuition that they get, the first hit that they get is traditional, they'll shy away from that answer. The thing is, just because it's traditional doesn't mean it's wrong. It
No.
just means it's not always the way to go. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah. And it often comes down to the question that is being answered as well, or the theme of the actual reading itself, the overall kind of thing. I mean, there's all sorts of things to take into consideration. And further down the line, because we do astrology in with our tarot as well, sometimes I literally look at a card and I'm my intuition is saying, don't even read the tarot card. It wants you to look at where Aquarius sits in this person's chart. Look up that and you'll have your answer.
Yes.
Sometimes that's what it is saying. Not every time. You have to be completely open to kind of what is being said in that moment.
And and I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to answer me as honestly as you can, which I know you will. Say you know your astrology and you're a very big moon worker, plus all the esoteric knowledge and any of the ancillary knowledge, numerology, Kabbalah. what kind of reading would that be if you tried to cram all of that into
Oh my
one
God.
card per reading?
Oh my God. It would be ridiculous. I just don't think the reading would have any flow to it. I think there would just be so much information in it. It would actually miss the focus and the point. It would be way too complicated to have any real understanding. You know, I mean, the person wants, at the end of the day, they're either looking for information, or they're looking for some guidance, or they're looking for some comfort, or they're looking for some clarity. You know,
Yeah.
the tarot readings 9 out of 10 times just come down to what the needs of the client at the time. We don't have to kind of dig into that great big kind of unnecessary history for every little, you know, tiny little bit. Oh, awful.
The client would be walking away so confused. Now, there
Yeah,
will be times where that numerology really applies,
yeah,
and your intuition will tell you. There will be times where that Kabbalah will make complete sense to the person sitting in front of you. But don't use that information to impress. Use that information as it's needed and as it could be understood. Because there are sometimes we really, it's like, I want to show them what a good reader I am. That's not what this is about. It's always about the person you're reading for. Remember that, and you'll do fine.
yeah, yeah. It's like if someone was writing a book, and if they just used so much fancy language, how many people are going to understand it? You know, you will get the odd person that might understand it, but why?
There was an astrology book that was recommended to me years ago, and I didn't get past the first chapter because all the words were these just enormous words, and he was trying to explain why astrology is a science. And I had to look up every third word. Seriously, I had to look it up. And I was writing them down as I was going. And by the end of the chapter, or where I got in the chapter, he'd actually said nothing. It was just a
Yeah,
bunch of adjectives to describe something. He actually didn't say why astrology was a science. He just used so many big words that he assumed, well, they must think I'm right because I'm so eloquent. It does, like, I just put the book down. It's gathering dust on a shelf because it's worthless to me.
yeah.
I-
It's like giving someone a dinner and just giving them so much, like adding every single ingredient that's in your cupboard. I mean, it would probably be sickening, to be honest.
Probably perfect analogy. Yeah. So there are times you can use those other systems, just not every time, just not all the time, and when
Yeah,
it's relevant to the
yeah,
reading. You do
yeah.
not have to cram all that knowledge in, because 9 times out of 10, the client isn't going to understand what the hell you said. So,
Are we talking? There's a joke here. There's a bit of an in joke coming up here. Do you know what I'm going to say?
no.
Mercury and Virgo.
Am I being Mercury and Virgo right now?
No,
Yeah.
I just said, we were talking today that Mercury is very, very strong, not just on one level, but on two
Oh
levels
God,
in
yeah.
Virgo. Like Mercury, it's kind of like so many kind of like dollops of Mercury in Virgo, and it could absolutely do your head in.
Yeah. Were they
I don't
exposed?
want to insult everybody out there that's got Mercury in Virgo, because it does depend what it's all sort of blended with, you know,
The pure Mercury and Virgo, our heads would explode. What the
on the
heck?
downside, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I kind of like feel we should leave it there, because unless we were going to kind of get into some huge discussion or get some absolute kind of professor in, some real expert on the Major Arcana and the whole history of it all, and the whole connection with absolutely every bit of mythology, numerology, blah, blah, blah. I kind of think, whoa, right, that is not what this little introduction is all about. And we will kind of like throw ourselves into the 22 major cards, let you know like some of the possible interpretations and stories that we've got and examples of majors from different decks, and hope you really enjoy this. Well, I am going to call it a journey. It
is
not necessarily the fool's journey, but through the 22 major arcana. And I bet in one way or another everybody can relate to every single one of those 22. That's the thing, they live within us. They are archetypes. And there's no I don't think anybody would say, well, I have absolutely no knowledge of this whatsoever.
No.
That's
universal archetype.
That is the challenge. Yeah, we will sort of we will kind of flag up what these archetypes are and just see whether anybody just feels like, well, means nothing to me. I doubt it.
No.
In some way, those archetypes will have kind of touched you in some way, I think.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this.
Me too. So on that note, I shall get into my chariot and sail off.
I'm going to walk. Everybody's much safer with me walking.
Just mind you don't walk off the edge of a cliff.
I know, right? I've walked into a flagpole.
Oh,
damn near broke my nose.
Blimey. Okay. So we'll see you soon, Sharon. And don't forget to subscribe.
And like, and if you want to know when we put our videos out so you don't miss a single one, hit that little notification bell, because then you won't have to search. Bye.
Bye for now.